Okay, so we're going live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Deep Thought. So we have a very interesting topic for discussion today, and that is who is a student unicorn? Student unicorns, the top 1% value contributors, the shakers and movers of today's and tomorrow's unicorns. So we have this very exciting concept where Deep Thought is working with some of the most innovative companies in India and helping them hire that early talent, youngsters with that fire in the belly, as they say, who have that potential to learn and grow very quickly. We are helping startups, we are helping different companies in hiring these youngsters who have the capacity to learn and grow. Now, let's ask ourselves the bigger question as to why is this even important? Why is it that companies need these youngsters with that growth mindset and emotional composure? Two fundamental problems. Today, while India is having 10% of global unicorns, while India is having 10% of global unicorns, more than 100 unicorns, while India is having 10% of global decacorns, at least 5 companies out of 47 decacorns across the world are in India. So while we have these fantastic companies in India, there are two major problems which most of these companies are facing. One is the time taken to move from intention to execution. The time taken to move from intention to execution. You have a very beautiful idea in your head. How much time does it take to go from that idea till a product? Problem number one. Problem number two, most Indians are unable to grow into leadership roles organically, because of our education system, which forces people to be self-centered, where soft skills are relatively low, even in CBSE, ICSE kind of schools. Most people are not able to get into those leadership roles quickly, and that compels the company to hire leaders from outside. But when they hire a leader from outside, that person may not understand the value system of the company. How did they even reach that stage? The person may not know that. So it's always better if some of your homegrown talent can grow into leadership roles. So these are two problems: time taken to move from intention to action, and people growing into leadership roles very quickly. So this problem, we believe, can get solved if you catch talent very early. You pick up youngsters very early, youngsters with that learning mindset, and then you groom them so that they can get into these leadership positions and innovation roles within the company environment. So today we have with us our chief mentor and CEO of Deep Thought, Mr. Yugandhar Reddy, and he'll be presenting his dream for the idea of student unicorn and what he expects from student unicorns. So thanks a lot for joining us today, Yugandhar sir, and the floor is now yours to take us through your dream for student unicorns. Yeah.
So before I get into the entire concept of student unicorns, I would know how many of you are here ready for employability in the next 6 months. You can chat, put yourself in the chat, you can interact. Are you ready for a job in the next 6 months? If you say 6 months, you can put 6 months, or if it is 1 year, put 1 year, or more than 1 year, more than 1 year. 3 choices you have.
Okay, the 6 months people can just click raise hand button on Zoom so we can have a show of hands. Yeah.
Okay.
The ones who are joining us on YouTube, you can also reply in YouTube comments. The ones who are joining us live on YouTube, you can reply via YouTube comments.
Yeah, 6 months, there with a lot of you are there. So each one of you would have had by now you should have had your dream job role or a dream company, at least vaguely or specifically with you. How many of you have that? Do you have what kind of job you want to do, what kind of role you want to play, and what kind of company you want to work for? Are you specific? I mean, those of you who are on Zoom can actually put in the chat to make it interactive. Are you clear about what kind of role you want to play, what kind of job you're looking for, or what kind of companies you want to join? Machine learning, okay. I didn't hear your voice. I'm not sure. But am I clear, Tarun? My voice is clear? Or you want me to increase my base level?
This is clear.
Right. Research, content creation, software developer. I want to work with an innovative content creator, product manager, Python developer. Good. I mean, how many of us are here? We are about 31. Business developer, product-based company as a React developer. Okay. Now I have an understanding of you all saying that you are all aware of the kind of positions that are there in the marketplace. Marketplace, any software company or any other company. So you know what kind of positions are available in these market places. But in these marketplaces, there are three kinds of people that work in these marketplaces. The first kind of people are those people who will do what is instructed to them. Say, for example, if a Python developer is there, he is told, boss, you develop this feature with this kind of code, these libraries you use. If those instructions are there, they will be able to execute the instructions. Right? These are first kind of people who are there in the marketplace or in the job market. And the second kind of people are those people, if instructions are given, they will go little extra, learn about what instructions are given, and then execute the instructions given. And there are third kind of people, if an instruction is given, they will have, no matter what hypothetical the instruction is, they will have a 360 degrees perspective of the instruction, and they take initiative of going and learning about the instruction in 360 degrees perspective and execute. So which means first category people only can execute instructions, or their capability is only to execute instructions. Probably they will be on GitHubs or in coding platforms, wherever there are their existing libraries. They will see and they copy, they paste, etc. And the second kind of people are, if you give them a problem statement and an execution statement, they will relate to it and they go a little overboard and then execute that. The third kind of people are those people, if a problem statement is given, they have a comprehensive understanding of the problem statement, and they will find a solution for it and then execute the solution that is viable to them. You understood these three kinds? So the third kind of people are very less in the market, very less in the market. These people are very highly paid. So how do we create these 1% of the people? The third kind of people are those 1% people who work in product companies or unicorns. So where do we get these people? Are they only from IITs or IIMs or the premium institutions? No. They are people who actually have invested in themselves, learned some skills, and learned the nitty-gritties of how to solve problems and all that. These kind of people are among us only. But these people are the people who actually are behind the unicorn building. These are the students, or these are the people who actually build the unicorns. They are the ones who actually contribute 80% to 100% in the unicorn companies. Are we clear so far? Do we have any questions here?
Yes, Zishan, please go ahead. Not audible. Would you want to unplug and replug your mic?
Am I audible now?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. I want to ask the question, like you said, the first person who is doing the thing, what the upper level of management instruct them. So if someone is a software developer and he has to code a program, so he did not have anything in his hand. So what he do to create a new thing, or how he create a value added to himself or the company, because he did not have room for doing too much things, because he's doing a programming thing like you have explained. So can you elaborate little bit about the first type more?
The first kind of people are those people who have technical skills. I mean, normally today, most of you have technical skills, either acquired or practiced or learned or whatever it is. But they will not go beyond executing those skills. For example, the project manager has to tell you, or Jishan, you will have to code for this feature. You will have to use this kind of code, 1, 2, 3. What will Jishan do there? Whatever technical skills he has, Python or Node.js or etc., whatever stack he is working on, what he'll do, he'll go to see the existing libraries or into the marketplace, and then trial and error method, little, he will just execute what instructions are given to him. He'll not go beyond that instructions. Am I clear here, Jishan?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so the second kind of people are, say, the people don't look for instructions of, say, the minute instructions, say these libraries and all. Problem statement is given and a blueprint is given. Boss, this is the problem statement. This feature may be required, may not be required. How should we go about? But the blueprint is, we'll have to make sure that this feature has to work. These kind of statements are little hypothetical, right? Then Jishan will have to go and work about that feature, know whether it is acceptable or not. He has to do little research and then say, okay, theek hai, isme ye technology we can use, and that is how Jishan will be able to do, provided a blueprint is given to Jishan. Those are the second kind of people. The third kind of people don't even are not even given a blueprint. They are only given a hypothesis. They say say we are developing an app, the app needs to be viral. This is very hypothetical, right? It needs to be viral. So we need to know what virality means, in virality, what features we need to use, and what does it mean, how it will work, how it will not work. All that has to be thought through, right? So those are the third kind of people, actually are the people who can visualize all those things. Am I clear, Jishan?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Get the point. Yeah.
Happy to take the next question. You guys can come in with your questions. Those who are following us live on YouTube can leave your questions in the chat. We'll be happy to take your questions from there as well. So please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question. Well, one thing about student unicorns is they're curious, which we know Indian education system kills in most of us. But for those of you who still have the curiosity, we'd love to take your questions. Go ahead, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, Tarun. Continuing on with your what you just said, I wanted to ask Yogendra sir, how do you suggest that, if you want to be if you're someone from the second category, but you're aspiring to be someone from the third category, because that's the aspiration. With the current, education system, how do you think that one can go from there to there?
The very fact that you have asked this question shows that you are curious, right? So that drive, this is called initiative or drive kind of thing. This alone will push you from one level to the other level. I'll tell you how, say in the first category, what I was telling you, in any organization, these people also get paid. They get little less paid than the third category people. But they are very happy to actually work where they are, complacence sets in, and they will have larger midlife career crisis for them. I'll tell you an example from my experience. I was working some years back, I was working in a human capital development organization as a global delivery head. In that organization, we have almost all the Indian multinationals as our clients, right? So one of our clients want to outplace their employees. Outplacing is, it was a very tough time then, like your recession kind of environment. People were laying off people. So this company is a fantastic company, fantastic organization. They did not want to leave their employees on the ground, so they wanted us to outplace them, which means they have given the list of those people to us and see if we can place them in other organizations. That is helping them find jobs in other organizations. So these people were having experience from anywhere between 6 years of experience in the same company to 22 years of experience in the same company. They have gradually grown in this Indian MNC in the same organization in the third category. And when I was talking to them, they have given 600 of those names to us. I have personally have spoken to about 50 of them to understand their problems. See how it is. And one of these glaring things that has struck me is none of them has invested in their skill growth outside their organization. In fact, in their organization, they have taken those certifications, etc., etc. See, all organizations use their proprietary material. For example, say if you say Infosys or TCS or IBM or say Wipro, etc., they have their own project management tools. And they get trained in that project management tool and they get certified in their project management tool. But you just slightly see outside, you will have a lot of PMI certification is there, Agile certification is there, then you have print certification, all that certifications in project management are there. These people have not put effort to get outside their system. They were very happy. They were very happy doing what was told to them. Systems are so much developed that any organization, these people are given instructions saying, today you will have to code these many lines. You will be measured in these many lines. These features have to be developed. This has to be maintained. So they do that. They are happy. They get their salary. You're understanding what I'm talking about? So then what happens in future? Learning is from cradle to what? To your last journey, right? So learning nowadays, the rate of change is very fast. So learning is very, very continuous. Learning to learn is a skill itself. The moment you learn to learn, that is when you grow from one level to the other level. And those people who are little ambitious got into the second category. They want to see how the other world is. They jump from one organization to the other organization. In the process, they get to that external this thing. They say, "ठीक है, blueprint दिए तो भी काम चलेगा, I will do. कुछ जो जुगाड़ करेगा तो I will do." These are little innovative kind of guys who actually take up challenges and execute them. And the third category of people will get employed or get occupied, will be productive always. Those are the people who are always thinking, always wanting to solve a problem, always wanting to learn from different environments, not only depending on their parent environment. So they look inside, outside, they take the 360 degrees perspective. They're always curious. They're not afraid of making mistakes. They know making mistakes is part of the journey. So this is how their career progression is. So ultimately, who are the people who will climb the corporate ladders or being innovative and all? The third kind of people are the people who will sustain growth, consistent growth they'll have. These are the people who are highly paid in the market. You will be wondering, your juniors, seniors, from engineering colleges, very specifically CSC, CEC and all, most of them will end up, large percentage of campus placements will end up in process support, which is not relevant even to their studies. Why did they compromise there? Because they don't have that thinking of knowing about that.
So,
yeah, Tarun.
So, I mean, I think let's focus our discussion more on student unicorns who I believe are not even in the category 3. Because I think when you look at category 3 as well, a lot of them are probably motivated by financial rewards and stuff. But I'd probably place student unicorns one level above category 3, where I think they're driven by an agenda of contribution, an agenda of making a difference to the world, right? Will probably grow faster than category 3 as well. So if you can discuss more about that persona.
There are two levels, two ways of looking at it, Tarun. One way of looking at it is looking it only in the perspective of employability. Looking only in the way of employability, getting a highly paid job, say 12 lakh placement or 13 lakh placement or 14 lakh placement and all. But here, it is not after you are graduating, you are looking at it that way. Student unicorns are those people who are wanting to actually see the opportunity even before they are actually graduating.
I'm afraid if our conversation is becoming a scalar Masai kind of a conversation here, where we're reducing, I think, the whole aspect of learning and growth to placements and getting a job. Because
it is not about, it is not. I'm coming to the second category of it. So if you want to be the third category of that, Tarun, third category of that thing, but what are those skills that will actually move you to there? Where will you pick them?
Is it,
Where?
this is my question. Is it skills which are going to move you to category 3 is my question.
It's more of an attitude. It's more of your being into looking at that way of looking at it. It is beyond skills. It is beyond skills. Skills can be acquired, but being that being is totally different.
Okay, so I'd like to present to you one very interesting experiment. We've got some data here for you, and we'd love to get your reaction to this. So Deep Thought hired about 30 people for a software internship. Okay, so in this 30 people, 18 people were hired through method 1 and 12 people were hired through method 2. All these 30 people were given equal treatment. But 18 people hired through method 1, 12 people hired through method 2. The 18 people hired through method 1 were asked to watch a video, share their reflections, were asked to come learn something new every day and share their reflections. Their ability to learn, their ability to look at various teams, various brainstorming sessions and learn from it was taken very seriously. Category 2, they were given one React.js, Node.js assignment. They were asked to complete JavaScript and Node.js assignment. They were asked to complete it. And they were given some feedback. They went back. They built that feedback again. And okay, so I think category 1 people look like the one in the comment right now who's asking, is this a workshop or is it an internship? So my sympathies are with those people. So now I'm saying, yeah, the 18 people, right, were looked at. I mean, we looked at their attitude towards learning, and the 12 people, we didn't look at it. We just gave them feedback. The people who came back after completing the task after feedback, we hired them. What we noticed with these 18 people was they were able to really understand the product brief, break it down, and execute the software all on their own. And if you look at the industry, if you look at the software industry today, most of the developers with 2 to 3 years experience have struggled to do this, to really own up that product brief and break it down all on your own and see how you want to be coding it. Because in a product environment, most of your time doesn't go into coding, but most of your time goes into making that plan, right? How is your data flow going to be? How is your data going to move around here and there? What is your process flow? And once you have your process flow very clear, that's when you go into coding. When it comes to these 12 people who are hired through method 2, I mean, their ability to grasp these concepts was a lot lower. The ability to grasp these concepts was a lot lower for people who came in through method 2. And also when it comes to...
Hello, you just removed me from...
Yeah. So now, when it comes...
you just removed it. You stopped doing this unnecessary stuff. Hello, you cheat guy.
Yeah. So now, when I'm saying that with respect to process 2, we were having these difficulties because of... And when I talked to my team and I asked them, well, all 30 people were given the same treatment. I said, all 30 people were given the same treatment. Then why is it that we see a difference between the 18 people and the 12 people? And the response which I get from my team, which was closely working with all the 30 people, was the people who are in this 18 group are only interested in coding. They only code all day. They only code all day. And any discussion beyond coding, they're not interested. And I did quote one of our previous interns, Arbaz, who finished a 6 months internship with us. He was telling me one day that, on one of the days, there was a discussion about marketing, about funnels and all of that. And when we were having this discussion on marketing, what basically happened was he understood what that concept is. And later on, when he was asked to build a software around these funnels, he said he was able to relate with, the expectation of the product, and he was able to code it much more efficiently because he already understood the business context of the product. So he told me that because he was listening to conversations and he was enriching his understanding of the world through conversations, he was able to pick up those concepts on the fly. So I think one question which I would like to pose is, what is the real difference between this category 2, category 3 people or student unicorns and the others? Because what I'm seeing is there is a kind of students who seem to be interested in anything and everything which is being taught to them. So when they get into projects, they can sort of figure out their way on their own. Yugandhar sir, are you here? I mean, your video seems to be.
I am here.
So I just wanted to give this as a context and ask, what difference do you see in these two types in this context here?
People who can understand the abstract, that is the intention, and make it into a product or into action, are the third kind of people. That's the example I was wanting to give. And people who can only execute the instructions given to them. But what kind of skills and how is the learning of those people who are there in the people who can do the intention to the product kind of people? Where do they get the learning environments? How do they learn? That is what is more important for a student unicorn. So how do they learn? Where do they learn? Is it like a seminar that goes on, or is it somebody was asking, is it an internship or is it a workshop? See, this is very abstract. Suddenly you are pulled into here and you are talked about certain kind of concept. How does your mind actually read into it and infer it and say what is useful to you? How will you use that to your own growth? That much selective, that much learning, attention grabbing and all that should be there for you, right? So it is not like say in engineering college, you say you are given an instruction, there will be an assessment. After the assessment, you are graded on that. It's not like that. Life is not like that. And in product environments or in these companies which are highly wanting to have high performers and all, life is not like that. What are those skills? Is it only communication skills? No. Is it only logical skills? No. It is beyond that. That is where we at Deep Thought are wanting to inculcate those skills through the very specified developed methodologies. We want to give that.
My question is it a skill?
It is beyond skill, Tarun. It is more of an attitude. Initiative is an attitude. Growth mindset is an attitude. Wanting to learn from any environments is an attitude.
Okay, so I'm trying to think from the perspective of, say, an 18-year-old college student who's listening to us right now. So I'm a college student. What I understand from this is, okay, Yugandhar sir tells me that there are people who never invest on their learning. Those guys land up somewhere, and there are people who invest on learning. Now, I am somebody who's doing a lot of courses online every day. So do I fit into student unicorn category if I'm doing a lot of workshops and getting a lot of skills every day?
No, probably no.
So what is that? I would like to understand, because if I'm an 18-year-old, I'll probably be
okay. I think probably this thing. If you want to learn, A is raising to B is raising to C. That you can learn from anywhere by Googling.
What do you mean by that?
Say, for example, if I learn Python libraries and I can code for certain kind of this thing, a feature is developed, that you can learn from any Googling environment. You can Google, say Java, you can Google learn from free environment. Node.js, you can Google and this thing. You can even have practicals. You can even have projects done there. But the thing is, how do you actually write the frameworks? How do you actually have the blueprints developed? That who is going to teach you? It has to be in an environment where those kind of challenges are there.
Okay. So in case you guys have questions, I'll be happy to bring you guys into the conversation. Yeah, Paras, please go ahead, and then we can have Ankush question.
Ankush also has a question.
So I had just only one question, that when Yogendra sir talked about like these are not particular skills which third category people have, these are beyond skills. You talked about attitude. So my question was like, if I want to fall in the third category, is this like teachable, or is the talent we talk about, like it is gifted, or it's a talent that we can generate, or what's the particular third category, like if we make people out of third category, so how we can make them in the environment, or is this only gifted to people who fall in third category?
Fantastic question, Paras. Teaching, is there plenty in the world? Teaching, preaching, is there plenty in the world? I mean, you pay, you get, or you get for free also. But learnability, learning, that is an inborn thing. You will have to have that drive. The moment you have that curiosity, the moment you have that initiative, the moment you have that drive, it starts from there. It's up to you. It's not external, it is internal to a person. For example, I'll tell you from my own standpoint of view. I have two sons. My younger one has completed ordinary or not ordinary, a degree, a BSc from Christ University in Maths, Economics and Statistics. Out of pure curiosity, he was grappling with the say hacking, gray hacking, on that kind of testing and all that. So he participates out of outside his academic interest, outside his job. He participates in those hackathons, etc., etc., etc. And to his surprise, he gets paid also on that. So who told him to do that? No, it was his thing. Did he pay anything to learn? No, he did not pay anything to learn. Where are the resources available? There are plenty. But how did we nurture that kind of environment for him to actually go beyond this thing? It is we as a thing say, yes, you should be curious, you should learn that, you should learn this, pursue your this thing and all. Do you get that in your college? Probably yes, probably no. Do you get that in your family? Probably yes, probably no. But who has to initiate that? It has to be you, right?
I mean, Yogendra sir, again, thinking as an 18-year-old who's watching this live. Agreed, I have the initiative, I want to learn. So what do I do?
You will have to implement to reach your goals and objectives through.
What do I have to implement?
You will have to see what actually makes you to go to the third level. So is there something called as what skills are required? Say whether you will have to evaluate what you are learning is what that can be implemented. Say for example, in our own cases, we get a lot of learning environments, but we don't actually have a know-how of how to evaluate whether our learning is in that, what is that intended by that video or that thing. So if that evaluation curious process is there within you, you will get to learn more than what you were.
Okay, I'm not sure if Paras, does it answer your question?
Yeah, like basically if we talk about environment, we have to give them environment where that if I want to learn about that particular environment, what's the environment we are talking about, where the third category people are nurtured?
For example, say if I talk to you about Sun Moon nanotechnology, Perhaps you don't know what that sun moon nanotechnology is. That word you have not found anywhere. It is not there in your knowledge base. You will not even if you Google, you will not get that, because that's a word I have coined just now for you. Right. So if it is not there, if it is not anywhere in the knowledge base, how do you get that? If you are in that environment, no, say in a job, or say in an internship, or in a place where that kind of works are happening, if you are there, you get exposed and your learning mechanisms get multiplied.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we have three interesting questions coming up. So we'll take these questions, but before that, I thought maybe somehow I thought this conversation went on a different track with us, getting into the CTC and skill language. Perhaps after I think that probably took us on a different path, and hopefully we'll steer the conversation to your be it, live it narrative, which I was eagerly looking forward to. We'll probably get there, but before that, I think we have three questions. I'd love to take that. Yeah, Ankush, please go ahead with your question.
More like I want to give an insight rather than giving an question. Like it's not like an insight. Like as Tarun, you were saying that from a perspective of an 18-year-old college student, I am that. I'm an 18-year-old college student, and as Yogendra sir was saying, so I really believe, or I think that the student unicorn is more based on, like, which I believe and I think is based on a keen sense of changing something that he or she thinks that he would like to change in the world. There are many things that are like a person is content with what he's doing as long as he gets what he wants. His needs are basically fulfilled. But to steer off that track and go into a deeper, more focused zone, will need that kind of person who will take that, have that sense to, change something. Like for an example, I am a freelance writer on the side, so I research and analyze a website or a company's total goal, scenario, and all those things to encapsulate the idea of what they want to do. So I think that I believe I'm in the third category, but it may not fit. The perspectives can change depending on what's the situation. So I would like to ask basically that does does it mean that being a student unicorn is like everywhere? Is it the same? Like if I don't know if I can make you understand or not. My question is like every field has different requirements, different opportunities, and student unicorns have to have different kind of goals, missions, and all that. So does that mean that everywhere does it change, or does it remain the same? Like one could shift from one goal to another. Like should we remain constant or not?
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll pick up all the three questions and take them one after the other. So thank you for the question, Ankush. I think that's a lovely question. I would like to answer this too once Yugandhar sir answers. Over to you, Ms. Bandhavi. Yeah.
Hello, sir. For example, if an individual is having a quest for diversified learning, suppose I'm a teacher who worked for 10 years. Now, but I'm not from teaching department. I have completed my graduation in Bachelor of Computer Applications. After marriage, I made myself and I have switched into this field. Now I thought that I want to change. I want to switch into a completely new thing, which is related to my own platform. Do you really think if a learner, again, I have to come from 0th level. So this world accepts, and is there any scope for sustain in this world?
So are you actually asking? I am from teaching world. I am wanting to get into software world. Will the world accept me? Is that the question you're asking?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to the third question. I think we can answer that too. Tarun, there is third question you said?
Yeah.
My question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Deepak.
Yes, sir. Actually, my question was. Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, yeah, my question is just the learnability you are talking about, sir. So, most of the time, like we feel like there is, I mean, if a student is so much curious, I mean, if the student is continuously learning, my question is how we get that subjectivity, like how we can connect with our learnability to the working field where we are being asked for particular skills or particular some mostly the skills are being asked that what you want to what you can present, but learnability is definitely something vast that and very spontaneous process that I'm understanding. Obviously, this is my question. If I have cleared it, like, if you have get it, my sir.
Can you take an example and ask the question? I mean, I'm not sure if I have understood your question.
So I think what she's trying to ask is, okay, I understand what is learnability. It's a vast area. It's a spontaneous process. I'm continuously learning. But when I look at a company, the company has a specific ask, right? I want this particular skill. If you can execute this particular skill, that's when I hire you. So how do I bring these two pieces together?
True, right.
Is that the question? Say if somebody
Exactly.
says we need team members or participative members or members who can work in team, that kind of skills they ask. So how do I link my learnability into that is what you are actually
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, Tarun.
Sure. So happy to take your responses, and I have some answers for the questions. I'd love to go in with my answers too after you go in.
Yeah, I think Ankush is where is he easier, right? Ankush,
Yes.
you are actually doing a fantastic job. You were of a dilemma whether you belong to the third category or first category and all that. These three categories are my opinions. It is not hard coded into any material saying this by law one, by law two, by law three, these kind of things. It's not that. It is my opinion on observation of lot of people I come across and lot of interviewing people and all that kind of thing, Ankush. I want to make that very clear here. So whether you belong to category 1, category 3, you need not label yourself. You need not label yourself as long as you get what you actually are desired to get, a kind of thing, right? But I wanted to tell you there are that kind of people there, right? And your specific question was, can you repeat your specific
Is
question?
this domain specific?
It is not domain specific. See, I work with social entrepreneurs across villages, rural India, and all that. So these kind of people, the three categories of people, I find everywhere, not only in software industry. They are there in every place, every domain. They are there, every place. In fact, in your house itself, there are people who will understand and implement. They will understand emotions and react and all that. So there are people who will only do when they are told 1, 2, 3 kind of jobs. So these kind of people are there everywhere. So it is not domain specific for that matter. But creating unicorns or working in unicorns, you need student unicorns who have this ability to understand that and adapt to that kind of environment. Right? That is the point I want to make clear. And answering to the Bandhvi's question, Mema, as long as you have that learnability continuously there, you can survive and prove and live in any environment. Those are basic requirements. I have examples of people who have not even passed 12th class who are doing fantastic software jobs also. We have people who are actually contributing a lot who have not passed only 12th kind of people who have fantastic skill set or mental models who contribute to the organization. So it is not the baggage or anything like that, but you can survive as long as you have that learnability thing continuously going. You should have that drive and passion to actually overcome that. That can be there. And Dibam Mitra's question, ma'am, this is, you actually say, if I am learning always, where do I actually put my communication skill rating and all that, right?
No,
If you,
I don't think that was a question. A company looks for a specific skill, right?
yeah.
So how do I acquire or fit into those specific skills so I can actually add value to a company and get a career in a company, right?
So, this is actually a very fantastic question. There are basic skills and there are niche skills in that area. For example, base skills, every company, every organization requires you to have that basic functional skills, say programming languages that they're working on the project, the communication skills, etc., etc., etc. So those are base skills. What we are talking about are the niche skills which actually will determine your being in the future. Right.
Okay. So
Yeah, Tarun.
I'd like to come in with a completely different perspective here. So I think in school and college, when we grew up, I think we taught a lot of things around skills, placements, and so on. I think I really like Ankush's perspective, what he brought in, where he said, chuck that skill, chuck that placement, and look at what is the change you want to bring in the world, right? Because once you get into that agenda, I think that gives you a motive to, get on a journey. Now let's ask, okay, if it's not skill, what do I need? So first, let me answer Ankush's question. I think that will sort of set the tone. He asked, is it domain specific? So Ankush, whether I'm a software developer, whether I'm a content writer, whether I'm say a product manager, or say whether I'm a school teacher, when I grow in an organization, eventually the people who are at the highest level in the organization, they are required to take accountability, right? So let's say your school has 100 teachers. Are you able to handle those 100 teachers and make sure the students, the parents, and everyone is getting proper value out of your institution? Right? There's so many teachers, they have their lesson plans, they have their assessments and all of them, all the tools which they make to run their classes. They're going and they're delivering classes. Are they able to deliver a high quality teaching in your school? And what is the new thing you're doing so that you're able to give extra value to the students? How are you, what kind of cultural elements are you adding in your school so that your students have that confidence? I hope you'll agree with me that some school principals are way more inspirational compared to the others because they always come up with new initiatives and new ideas to run in the school, right? The whole school comes alive because they're running these initiatives. So that's from a school perspective. Now, when you think from a content writing perspective, again, if I have an organization with 100 content writers, what am I doing with respect to these 100 content writers? What am I training them on? What are the frameworks I'm developing through which all of them write? How do I appreciate the folks who are doing well? Can I, if I appreciate, let's say Ankush writes a very good article, can I give that article to Manish and say, hey, this article has A, B, and C. It has good storytelling. It understands the value proposition of the product really well. These are the two areas which are really good in Ankush's article. Can you all go learn this? So as a leader, can I set the tone for my entire organization? Or let us say I'm a company which has 20 product managers, all of them very creative. All of them can solve problems. All of them can come up with very good products. What processes do I maintain? How do I hire people? What do I look in a person while hiring a person? You need somebody to do this. So what I'm trying to say is, in any organization, you need people who can take that accountability. They take the complete responsibility for the organization. Now, one problem in this skill world, for me, I think the word skill is something which I hate. In my vocabulary, personally, I hate it. Because I think skill is for robots. Humans need faculties of the mind. So if you can prepare yourself to take that accountability and understand what is required if I have to manage a team of 20 people and let my organization feel assured that don't worry, things are going fine. I think if you're going there, you're growing as a student unicorn, growing as a leader, whatever nomenclature you want to bring there, I think you're doing well. Now, it turns out this does not change based on the domain. It's based on how you spot talent, how you train talent, how you maintain processes, how you conduct reviews of people from time to time, how you diagnose the leakages in the productivity and fix them. How do you listen to the client's expectations and make sure that the way your team is functioning is aligned to what your clients want? This usually, I mean, there are a lot of principles which remain domain invariant. Does this answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Now, Devmita, coming to your question. So,
Tarun,
yeah.
a small thing. I need to go, Tarun.
Yeah, sure, sir. Thanks a lot for joining us. I'll share the rest.
Yeah, I wish all the best to all the participants. Thank you very much, guys. You can always reach us in the platforms on the WhatsApp groups and all if you have any specific question. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So now, Devmita, to answer your question, so a lot of times when we say I'm a learner, I mean, I've been a teacher trainer, I've worked with different schools. Unfortunately, I think the colloquial terms, what we call learning, is actually not learning. It's a feel-good factor of learning that we get. So an important question to ask is, what am I learning? If I call it a learning, can I quantify that learning? How would I be able to quantify that learning? Because if I've learned something, that learning has to help me to be able to produce something. For example, let's say you've learned graphic design. If you've learned graphic design, that has to help you in producing certain design. Or let's say you've learned how to code. That code has to help you in producing certain software. Now, how can you evidence the value of what you've created? Do you have somebody who values what you've created? So if you're a student who's sitting in your college room and creating a lot of things which nobody uses, I'm afraid that is a very limited idea of learning. But if you're able to learn something, make something out of whatever you learned, if somebody is able to use it and come back and ask, can I get one more? Can I get one more? I mean, let me give you an intuitive example, right? Let's say you learned how to cook, right? You learned how to cook a dosa. You make a dosa. The person eats a dosa and asks, can I get one more? Then perhaps your learning is helping you create some real value. Again, I wouldn't want to reduce everything to practical application. Even if you're not able to, even if you're learning something like literature or psychology where you don't have a practical application, are you able to leverage that learning to describe a new idea, to create new knowledge which didn't exist in the world before? Then probably you've learned. So if we are talking of this kind of learning, a learning which can lead to an output, that output can either be conceptual or it can be practical. Even if it's conceptual, that's fine. If you're going into the space, then you ask yourself this question, what do I want to do? What work, what job do I want to do? If you ask yourself, I want to be a software engineer, then you work backwards and ask, if I need to be a software engineer, what do I have to do? And then you work backwards and say, okay, if I have to be a software engineer, maybe I need to be comfortable with drawing wireframes and process flows. Maybe I'll have to be comfortable with Node.js or Python or AngularJS or whatever technology. I learn a little bit of that. Then I start making something real. And maybe I do an internship where I start contributing something to a project. As I'm contributing, I realize a lot of gaps which I need to fill. So when I realize the gaps, can I go and read about it somewhere? Can I go and ask questions to somebody and keep filling the gaps? Interestingly, this is Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy of learning, also known as Nai Talim philosophy. Learning and doing happening parallelly. I learn something, I work on a real project. While working on a real project, I see some gaps. I go fill those gaps while learning something. So while you're doing something, that doing creates a context for your learning. And your learning enables your doing because you already picked it up, whatever is required to go and do that thing. But what becomes very essential here is that if you are trying to maybe build a software, can you break it into little pieces like a computer game and say, okay, on day one, I built this MVP. I built this very low level thing, so I mean, very small scale thing. And then on day two, I add some layers to it. It's like, let's say you're learning how to build a house. On day one, you say, I'm just going to build a tent. On day two, you say, okay, I'm going to build a little ornamental tent, which is nicely decorated. On day 3, I say, okay, I'm going to build a 2-story or 3-story tent. On day 4, I'm actually going to build a little tent, but with cement and bricks. Day 4, I'm going to make it a little nice. The next day, I put 2 levels, 3 levels. So can I have that staggered approach? Break it down and have a level-wise progression. And often this is very difficult. For you to do it on your own becomes very difficult. And that's where a mentor becomes important. So a mentor can, stagger that for you. If you have a mentor who can stagger that for you, right? Level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. That's when whatever learning processes you've developed, you'll actually be able to plug that learning processes to be able to execute different things. And let me tell you one thing. If you are a person who's got that open mindset, then you'll be able to get into different fields and pick up different fields very seamlessly without requiring a professional degree in that field. At Deep Thought, I've personally seen people who do video editing, who do graphic design, who do copywriting, who do software development, who do product research, who do teaching, who do multiple things. All that they need is a staggered plan. Okay, day 1, okay, I'll do this. Day 2, okay, I'll do this. So for 15 days, I get hand-holding. By the 16th day, I've picked it up. And if I spend enough time on it, maybe 6 months on it, I'm good at it. Otherwise, okay, maybe I'm not so good. But if somebody from that field talks to me, it's not Greek and Latin. I know what the person is saying. I can collaborate. I can contribute together with that person. People at least get there. But if you spend 5 to 6 years and you do multiple things, you'll probably, pick up multiple skills. I mean, when I was in college, I was into video editing, I was into graphic design, I was into event management, entrepreneurship, but at the core, I was a mathematics student. Right, doing some research on computer science and so on. So I think once you pick up that pattern of how you learn to learn, I think all of this will fall in place. But I hope I've given you some heuristics of, or hacks of how you can go about it. But fundamentally, I think an attitude shift could be required, like how Ankush has pointed out, that am I doing this because I'm going to get a job, or I'm going to get paid something, or am I doing this because I want to make a difference in the world? The people who go in with this attitude, they excel so much, they create so much of value that money just follows because the whole world wants them. Like Baba Ranchorda's story in 3 Idiots, right? You go behind excellence, success comes behind you. I mean, that seems very motivational in 3 Idiots. But if you think about it, even in a company environment, these are the ones who grow very fast. Now going to I hope I've answered all the 3 questions. So now I think there was also one question on how do we move from that, say, persona 2 to persona 3? I have a simple answer for that. Stanford University has a YouTube channel. Stanford Graduate Business School has a YouTube channel. So on their YouTube channel, they interview a lot of CEOs. They've interviewed Indra Nooyi, they've interviewed Sundar Pichai. I think they've also interviewed Satya Nadella. They've interviewed a lot of CEOs. Can you go and listen to these interviews and see how people in leadership positions think about their job and think about their life? Because my fundamental question is, whom do you hear on a daily basis? Do you want to learn from the best? Simple question. Do you want to learn from the best? And if you want to learn from the best, is somebody stopping you? YouTube would love you to go and watch that video. They make more money if you go watch this free content there. There's so much of free content on YouTube where the thought leaders who are actually talking on different topics. See, I don't have an MBA. I run my business. And I need to understand finance to run my business, because now I've been talking to multiple investors. I need to understand how investors think, because investors don't think like how I think. They think in a different way. For them, there's a portfolio, they put some money. When is the money going to come back? I want to understand them. I want to understand them so I can win, this little exercise which can help Deep Thought in getting funds. So I had to learn about finance. So what did I do? I went to YouTube and I was searching for different videos. Then I encountered this wonderful person called Ashwath Damodaran. I watched one of his videos and I was like, wow, this man is just amazing. And I tried watching a lot more of his videos. And eventually I ended up picking up quite a few concepts of finance, which is quite crucial for running a business. So I think if you want to have that kind of thought process, I would say can you stop following these people who teach you skills, who tell you, I mean, you open YouTube, people are like, I'll help you get this job. My 10-hour course, you complete it and you will get a job in this Fortune 500 company. You want to get a job in a FANG company? I have designed a course. I've placed 10,000 people in the last 7 years in all these sales pitches. Go behind them. Please be assured of never becoming a student unicorn in your life. Versus, can you listen to the kind of people Ankush was talking of? Where you listen to a Satya Nadella who's like, hey, we'd like to change the world. Where Satya Nadella says that you guys are building technology to change the world. We want to build that foundational technology through which we empower you to change the world. He comes to Hyderabad, he comes to T-Hub, and he meets all the entrepreneurs and says, I'm inspired by all of you. You all are making technologies to change the world. We would like to give you our tech framework through which you can make your technology. And the beauty of you guys working with us is the laws pertaining to technology in every country is different because of the data sovereignty of every country. Every country wants to have its own say in terms of data. And he says every country, the laws and all these compliances are very different. But if you build your technology on top of our technology, you don't have to worry about all of that because we figured that out for you. So this is how we are helping you in doing your job of changing the world while laying a foundation for you. He's not saying, I'll give you a job, I'll give you this skill, I'll give you that skill. He's discussing big ideas. Big ideas of, how can I build a business which is foundational, on top of which a lot of other people can build the products. He's talking of data sovereignty. Have you heard of this idea of data sovereignty? That's a, brilliant perspective, which you may have to think about if you want to bring a multinational perspective to your business. So you listen to him, you pick up this perspective. Or you listen to an Indra Nui. She talks about design thinking. She talks about her conversation with Steve Jobs. She mailed, when Steve Jobs was alive, she mailed Steve Jobs and said, I want to meet you. So Steve Jobs actually, spent a day with her and they discussed how you build products, how you understand consumer behavior. And she talks about how they, I think Doritos or one of those products, she talks about how they went about designing it. That to me was like, wow. And for me, I think this is nothing less than magic, right? That I get to listen to world's greatest CEOs, world's greatest thinkers, and they are giving me in a capsule. For hours, she's thinking about it. For hours, she's thinking about it. And then on one fine day, she comes live in an event and she explains her story. She's probably spent 20, 30 hours thinking about it. And she's explaining it to me in 20 minutes. Isn't that fantastic? So if you ask me, what is the difference between a student unicorn and that 1, 2, 3 or whatever categories of students is, a student unicorn is like that Baba Ranchod Das. The student unicorn is interested in figuring out how the world works. The student unicorn loves that mystery of seeing the world. The student unicorn is like Newton, right? An apple falls on his head and is like, what's going on here? How do I make sense of it? Or the student unicorn sees a very inspiring leader and the leader did something differently. And the student unicorn asks the question, why did this leader do this? What can I learn from this leader? So I think if you're trying to make sense of the world and you listen to a lot of great thought leaders, there you'll automatically get pointers, right? Where Satya Nadella comes and says, I think growth mindset is important. I've been reading Carol Dweck and growth mindset helps people. In Microsoft, I'm trying to get my people to learn growth mindset. Or let's say Steve Jobs comes and says, I believe in Picasso's philosophy of design. So then what do? You go Google, what is that? This is, I call this crawling, like how Google algorithm works. You listen to one thought leader, that thought leader quotes somebody else. Then you go listen to that thought leader, you read that book, that fellow quotes somebody else. You go read that book, you read that video, then you're caught in that cycle of great people. When you're caught in that cycle of great people, what happens to your brain eventually? It's discussing big ideas. Let me give you guys a simple example, which I wrote in one of my articles. When I was in second year of college, along with my friends, we were having a discussion on a terrace. And I said, guys, let's organize a quiz for all school students in our colony. We'll get some corporates to sponsor it. We'll get a TV channel to, be a media partner and, telecast it. It'll be cool if we can run a very good program for students, and we guys can do this and we can learn a lot. And my friends were like, okay, that's nice. And then they were like, can we set up a Ganesh Pandal? And interestingly, one of those guys meets me after 5 years, after doing, his engineering from an institute of national importance, and then says, look how we were at that time. You were talking of a nice idea and I was talking of Ganesh Pandal. No offense to a Ganesh Pandal. I'm sure that's something fantastic to do. I'm sure that'd be fun to, catch up with everyone and, celebrate with the festivities. But I'm talking of how do you discuss big ideas? So you want to grow as a student unicorn. The question I would ask is, are you exposing yourself to big ideas? So I hope that has given you some direction. I mean, in case you feel this was just motivation and you've not got a pathway, please ask your question, because trust me, I'm not here to give motivation. I'm here to give a pathway. Like if you ask me, okay, what do I do? A, B, C. I can tell you what is that A, B, C, so that you can start exploring from that pathway. So if someone wants to ask question there, I'm happy to give you a pathway there.
Yeah, may I, Tarun?
Yeah.
If I can make sense, I just read there are like 3 mindsets where 2 of them were like you have a positive mindset or a growth mindset. So what I thought I can have a positive mindset where like if I have given a task or I want to take a task and I want to do a task in a certain manner, I can do that in all the creativity I want. So I can do that in a positive mindset. But what's the difference between a positive and a growth mindset? If you have a growth mindset there, so what you do different than having a positive mindset?
Okay, that's a good question, Paras. So firstly, I'd like to qualify that growth mindset is a prerequisite for this execution. Well, but growth mindset in itself may not be sufficient. Let me qualify that. Okay, but let me answer your question specifically in terms of what is the difference between positive mindset and growth mindset. Positive thinking, I think, yeah, people talk a lot about it. It's kind of like a fad. I'm not sure how scientific it is, but it's like a fad, right? Keep your thoughts positive. Don't, discourage yourself and so on. So I think you kind of get that. But growth mindset is an idea of Carol Dweck, a researcher. So what she says is people have 2 different attitudes, broadly speaking. Broadly speaking, the 2 attitudes are, one attitude is if I run into a project where I do not understand how something works, I tell myself, I don't know this, and I stop myself there. But if I have a growth mindset, and if I do not know how to do it, I tell myself, okay, let me go figure out how this is done. Let me give you an example. Let's say I'm not a Python developer, but let's say I'm working on a project and I can't do this in Node.js. I'll have to do this on Python because Python libraries let me do it more efficiently. I don't know Python. So do I tell myself, I don't know Python, I need a Python developer to help me? Or do I tell myself that, okay, I don't know Python, but I think if I give myself 2 weeks, I'll probably pick it up. I just have to pick up the syntax. I'll have to pick up the possibilities on Python. If I can spend like 3 hours every day for the next 2 weeks, I'll probably be able to pick it up. So let me make a plan and let me pick it up in 2 weeks and then do this project using Python. So that is the fundamental difference between fixed mindset and growth mindset, where in growth mindset, if I do not know something, I tell myself, okay, I don't know it right now, but I think I'll get there. I'm at point A, I'll have to go to point B, I'll go there. I mean, there could be parallels between what is traditionally called positive thinking and what is called growth mindset. But I think growth mindset is specifically that idea that if I do not know something, I say, hey, it's okay, I don't know it, but I think I can go to point B, and let me go to point B. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. I think we have time for 2 more questions. Anybody has questions, we can go ahead. Any questions?
If I can again.
Yeah, go ahead, Paras.
I just had a question like if we want to develop a growth mindset and also we also want to generate into others like they also have a growth mindset. So what we can think of a incubator type of a thing where people can go and have a environment there and develop a growth mindset. So what according to you like can have a what that particular incubator should have to generate that type of environment where people can grow?
That's a good question. So I think what we could do is maybe if we could have a lot of activities, right? Little activities where in that activity, people come in and they do little tasks, right? Little tasks. Let's say playing with clay and making something with clay or putting some blocks together, something which they do not know, something which appears very difficult on at the outset, right? You give them a task which appears extremely difficult, and then you show them how they could do that task. You come up with a lot of such activities and you show them how they can make complex problems very simple and how they can do the task. So I think once people can see how problem reduction can help you pick up challenging tasks and break them down and then solve them, people will slowly start believing that this is doable. I'll be able to break it down. I'll be able to do it. And Paras, let me tell you why I'm saying this. The students who've been, the school students who've been attending Deep Thought classes, many of them, I think they've developed that confidence saying that if there's something which I don't understand, if there's something which is complex, all I'll have to do is break it down, break it into little pieces, take those complicated words, question them, see what it means by maybe looking up a dictionary or Googling it, look at some examples, and eventually I'll be able to, understand it. So for somebody to develop that confidence, I think they will need to go through some journeys where they were able to pick something which initially appeared complex, but they were able to take it down. It's like, let's say, I'm trying to teach you to cook, and I teach you something very basic to teach. You teach that, you feel a sense of achievement. Once you feel that sense of achievement, probably you'll be, when something else which is complex comes up, you'll probably ask yourself, how do I do this too? That desire gets born in you. Even here, can I implement something like that and learn it? Because you believe yourself. You want to give yourself that chance to go and do it. Does this answer your question?
Yeah.
I think I want activities with that levels, right? So if people can come do those activities, perhaps through that they can develop growth mindset. And I think good mentoring can lead to growth mindset, where if a mentor can break tasks down, give you a small task, you go back, next level. Over a period of time, you believe that you're capable. Yeah, we have time for one last question. If somebody has a question, yeah, Dinesh, please go ahead. How do we develop accountability? Good question. So in general, I think accountability can be, so do you mean accountability for a entire function or accountability in general as an individual, that I feel accountable, that when someone gives me something, I hold myself accountable? Okay. I think both of them are different in terms of accountability for a function and accountability for yourself. Individual level accountability, organization level accountability, I think are different ideas. A lot of people can be very good with individual level accountability, but they struggle with institution level accountability. Right. So now when it comes to individual level accountability, Dinesh, I think there are many answers to this question, but one answer which I would like to give you, which I personally think works, is review yourself. Can you maintain a dashboard, right? If you're saying I'm going to do this activity, let's say you're going to write a code, can you make a dashboard and say, okay, with this dashboard, I'm going to measure myself where I stand after 1 hour, where I stand after 1 day, where I stand after 5 days, where I stand after 10 days, and I have a way to track myself, right? And in my dashboard, I write it down. And maybe I get a mentor or I get a buddy, a friend, who'll come and review me, who'll ask me some tough questions around my project. So I think if I face enough reviews and if I hold myself for review, that can be, that can induce that habit of accountability within me. So can you, plan your work, make a dashboard for your work, right? Through which you can monitor how you're progressing with your work. and also review yourself from time to time. Because if you can review yourself from time to time, you'll, even while doing a job, at the back of your mind that's running, hey, in the next review, I'll need to answer this. So let me finish this on time. Do you get what I'm saying? Because in the next review, you have to give an answer while doing the task itself. Okay, let's say you're cooking dosas, right? And you serve this dosa to Saurav every day. Okay. And every day Saurav asks you why the dosa is not crispy. For 1 week continuously, Saurav asks you why is it not crispy. On the 8th day when you're making the dosa, would you be careful about pouring the batter carefully so that the dosa is crispy? You almost visualize Saurav standing right behind you and asking, Dinesh, make it crispy. Does this make sense? If you're subjecting yourself to review, then what happens is you inculcate that habit where while doing the job itself, you think of, okay, in that review, I'll have to answer this. How do I fix it now itself? So if you can conduct a lot of reviews for yourself, I think that's a great way to hold yourself accountable. And Daniel Kahneman, right, the Nobel Prize winning psychologist, he says that if you get frequent feedback loop, I think your learning is better. With frequent feedback loop, your learning is better. This is what Daniel Kahneman, says. Okay. So thank